Thank you for having me here to speak about Pakistan's air pollution problem. I'm going to be talking about how a community-driven network of low-cost sensors has put a magnifying glass on our air pollution issues, how that data triggered the government to announce a series of initiatives to clean up the air, and how ordinary citizens can have a major impact in shaping their environment. Today, we are at the end of October 2020, which is the start of the winter smog season, which is referred to now as the fifth season in Pakistan of air pollution. If you look at some of the worst polluted cities in the world, you will consistently find Lahore and Karachi amongst the top 10. Usually, when people think of air pollution, they think of places like Beijing or New Delhi, because Pakistan has not been on the map of air pollution in the past years. Some of those reasons are that Pakistan has had little or no monitoring across the country, even though the government is mandated. We do have environmental protection agencies which are supposed to monitor air quality. They had not been monitoring air quality until fairly recently, until we citizens put our own low-cost air quality monitors across the country and showed just how bad the pollution levels are. So before we continue, a little bit on how we started in Pakistan. I used to be living in Beijing, China at that time, and China used to be, I mean, there's a lot that's changed in China, used to not publish air quality data. So the US consulate in Beijing started reporting on Twitter hourly readings of PM 2.5. Inspired by that, in 2016, we started a Twitter account called Lahore Smog, where we similarly are reporting PM 2.5 concentration levels on an hourly basis. This data in real time, like I said, puts a magnifying glass on air pollution. It does help create a cleaner environment, and it also helps evaluate the impact of any possible emission reductions policies that may come up. When we started, we were looking for which low-cost monitors to use. Back in 2016, there were not many options available. In fact, even today, the only substantial options are the air visual air quality monitors, or the purple air ones. We decided to partner with Air Visual by simply buying their monitors and deploying them in different cities. We reached out to other citizens who were interested in environmental issues, in climate change issues, in sustainable development, and asked them to simply host the monitors at their homes and workplaces. We started with 6 monitors. A few months later, we had a dozen, and a year later, we had 20. Today, we have about 40 monitors, which are all providing data in real time through the Air Visual website, through their app, and also through our various Twitter accounts, such as Lahore Smog that you just saw, but similarly for Karachi, Islamabad, and other cities. So what we achieved by just deploying these monitors on our own without waiting for any, say, grant or NGOs to be involved, and by doing it as a real decentralized community initiative, was that we got the ball rolling. Today, of course, a lot of people are familiar with the massive Purple Air Network, thanks to the California wildfire that has been spread. And again, it's a very similar success story that, people have the power to use these monitors, which cost a few $100s, and, put them up and just start sharing them publicly. So thanks to this grassroots movement, we found it a lot. We had other interested fellow citizen scientists who are, none of them are doing this as, say, a full-time job. They're doing it all out of interest. we find that the government data does not meet the criteria for what you can consider open air quality data. We don't know where the stations are located. We don't get access to the data in real time. We cannot access it programmatically. And in fact, if you look here on the right, the data is often lagging. We don't get access to the data sometimes for months or weeks. Sometimes it does show up after a few days, and it does show up in this kind of a format, which is a PDF that you then have to look at. And when you look in the details, like where I've highlighted here, the reported value for one station, which is 2.6 microgram per meter cube for PM 2.5, and having such low numbers are fairly questionable. And we've also done longer term analysis of what the data looks like. So looking now at the data reported by the Environmental Protection Department of the Government of Punjab in Pakistan for 2019, we find that the data they report is 12 times above WHO safe limits. That is the average annual concentration of PM 2.5. It is 12 times above WHO safe limit. So these are some unbelievable numbers. And since our citizen monitors have also been reporting and recording data, here is what we found, that it is 151 micrograms per cubic meter, which means it's 15 times higher than safe limits. And a lot of people would question us that, you're misrepresenting data, your monitors are not accurate, and, there is something wrong with what you're saying. So we did not have anything to respond to that because of the lack of reference standard equipment available in Pakistan, and also the questionable reliability of the data that the government was putting out. Until last year, the US embassy and consulates also started reporting quality data around May 2019, and their data shows even scarier figures of 201 micrograms per cubic meter of PM 2.5. So that is 20 times above WHO safe limits in Lahore. And again, this is not the data reported for one day or for the smog season during the winter. This is the annual average figures that we are looking at here. So these are some fairly unbelievable numbers that we see here. So yeah, Lahore smog is the 5th season of smog, with only 10 hours of good air quality reported in 2019. 10 hours of good air quality. Again, some unbelievable numbers that we are looking at. Similarly, when you take a deeper dive and you go beyond PM 2.5 and looking at publicly available data by the government for Lahore, we see that NOx levels are well above safe limits as defined by the EPD. Carbon monoxide levels are above safe limits. PM 2.5, we know already, are well above safe limits. A similar story for Karachi as well. I mean, if you look at the carbon monoxide levels in particular, those are some very scary numbers. So according to the government's own data, only 18 days met standards for safe air quality in 2019. So thanks to our data and our workshops and our outreach to the government, to media, to other citizens, we managed to bring this data out to the public. And last year, the Prime Minister announced a number of initiatives from upgrading fuel quality to an electrical vehicle policy and other environmental initiatives to clean up the air. So this is something quite significant, and this is solely to do with the open air quality data that we have been putting out. We are also working on making it a bigger national priority. We continue our communication and our workshop efforts, again, just as citizens. One very inspiring story was this group of mothers called the Angry Mothers, based in Lahore, did hundreds of workshops in hundreds of schools across Punjab to communicate the air pollution problem, and that mothers and children should be taking precautions to ensure that their kids are not exposed to these dangerous levels of pollution found in Pakistan. Um, what we are looking forward to, which is a wish list for us, and I believe the wish list for any organization involved with air pollution, is that we want to have capacity building in Pakistan through technical exchanges, not just for us citizens, but for other researchers, institutions, universities now getting involved in this. We want to see more reference standard and multi-pollutant equipment. We want to be able to work with remote data, such as satellite data coming from NASA and the European Space Program. We want to be able to do co-location with reference standard equipment. And of course, we want to be able to present at conferences such as this one. So a reminder again of why we talk about air pollution and why we want to put this magnifying glass on this data is because 135,000 deaths per year are attributed to ambient air pollution just in Pakistan. This is a very important issue. We need to continue working on it. We need more people working on it. And we also need the international community to start paying attention to Pakistan's air pollution problem. Thank you so much for listening to me. You can get in touch by email.